Hello dear sisters, and here we are again at my home on week 20. And again, it's a wonderful milestone, so congratulations that you persevered, you stayed with me all these weeks. So let's keep going, let's pursuing the Lord and pursuing obedience and pursuing helping and growing as wonderful helpers to our husbands. So today I'm going to talk about destructive effects of the lack of praise, specifically praising our husbands. Very often, we as wives, and I struggle with that too, underestimate and do not realize the serious and destructive effects of the lack of praise, of the lack of praising our husbands and encouraging our husbands. And, my dear sister, this is so serious that this lack of praise and lack of encouragement might even expose our husbands to danger, spiritual danger. There are seductive women out there who flatter with their tongue, and as, for example, Proverbs 5, verse 3 tells us that the lips of an adulteress drip honey and her speech is smoother than oil. And again, Proverbs warn us again and again against the seductive and women that speak those smooth words. So, those women are out there, they're in the church, they're in your husband's workplace, they're in the world, obviously, they're everywhere, who are very good psychologists and know that men in general thrive on praise. Those women instantly perceive, and I want you to notice that word, perceive, that neediness in men or void, whether it's on emotional level, physical level, spiritual level, so they perceive that void, pick on his best qualities and start flattering. That's what that smooth speech is all about. Start flattering, which is obviously false praise, and draw those men in. And what is that false praise or flattering? Flattering means insincere praise. That's all it is. They praise the man, but insincerely, and the man just melts. Such women entrap the man into the web of their false praise. They perceive the void. And that's what I want you to notice, my dear sister. How much more we as wives should perceive those things in our husbands that need a little boost by our encouragement, by our praise. How much more should we have the eyes to see those little voids here and there? Obviously, the man who is not regularly praised or encouraged by his wife will most likely be trapped by such a woman, and it's obvious. Who do you think would be prone to be trapped more? The one who is constantly praised and encouraged by his wife, or the one who is not? Obviously the one who is not. By not praising our husbands, we create a want in them that they might not even realize. Just like thirst. Sometimes, I get thirsty, and then 3 hours later, when my throat is completely dry, I realize, I'm thirsty. And the same with the want for praise. But nonetheless, that want is still there. And it does make our husbands vulnerable to demonic attacks towards those alluring women. The seductive women perceives and verbalizes that a man is kind, that he is strong, that he is attractive, that he is sweet and wise. She might even have some cliches on some masculine character traits. But everything she says, all that her smooth speech is always targeting to boost his masculinity. That's all she's trying to do in every sphere of his life. She makes him believe that he's the real man in every sphere, physical, emotional, and spiritual. But if you, my dear sister, as a wife, would satisfy this need for praise and encouragement in your husband on daily basis, regularly, your husband would not be tempted. He would not believe the false, the insincere praise. Just like Debbie Pearl says, if you feed your husband every day with chocolate or chocolate cake or whatever he likes, his favorite dessert, he will not be tempted by another woman's cooking, so to say. And she's referring that to the intimacy. But here, I'm referring it to encouragement, which obviously one of the most incredible ways to safeguard your husband from being tempted is obviously blessing him with regular intimacy. That's obvious. But that's a topic for another conversation. When a husband knows that a wife believes in him, affirms him verbally and in action, and that might even be just, you know, brushing against him when you pass by, winking to him or smiling when you see him. All those little things, they're all are signs of affirmation. Holding hands when you're together, hugging each other when you're in church or, you know, taking a walk, taking a little stroll. That she speaks highly of him, stands up for him, speaks well on him in front of others, which is extremely important. One of the saddest things that I observe sometimes that women speak, trash about their husbands in front of others, and that's horrible, so dishonoring to the Lord, breaks the heart of God. Okay, let's continue. That a wife is emotionally aroused by him, that he is highly respected by her. All of those things, they make the heart of her husband safely trust in her. He is at rest. He is content on the inside, because all of those things affirm his masculinity, affirm that he is needed, affirm that he's loved. It strengthens him as a man. The need for praise has been fulfilled, and this is your role, my dear wife. This is my role to fulfill as a helpmeet. You're a helpmeet, I'm a helpmeet. So as helpmeets, we fulfill that need for praise in our husbands. So we need to teach ourselves, and I stress that word, teach ourselves and actively find ways to affirm our husband's masculinity by praise. And also, if you struggle with that, just I used to and still do sometimes, unfortunately, by breaking the patterns of negativity and negative reactions, or noticing the negative things instead of good things. We have to break those patterns. We have to plan, just like I mentioned in my previous talk, we have to plan on praising our husbands specifically when and how, and especially in front of others. And by praising our husbands in front of others, we become their crowns. We become their glory, because we make them kings. We make them shine. And boy, do I delight when I hear, and I have a wonderful friend, and I'll mention her name, Gail, who always speaks highly about her husband, never would ever mention anything negative, and she becomes a crown. What a delight. It's music to my ears, music to my ears. Also, we support our husbands by believing and encouraging them in their ministry. This is extremely important. Even if your husband just does church bulletins, prints little flyers, does not matter how big it is, how small it is. Obviously, his work, that's also his ministry outside of home. It is very, very important. Just as I support and protect my husband by going to Africa with him, just like I mentioned, we will be going for almost 20 days, because I'm helping him to do God's will. And also by being alongside of him, I'm protecting by my encouragement and by my praise and by blessing him with intimacy, by my love, I'm protecting him from a seductive woman. When I encourage my husband, he realizes that I do not take him for granted, and the same with your husband. That's what you communicate by encouragement, that you do not take him for granted. And with years, unfortunately, I don't know if you fall into that, but I do fall into that. Sometimes I just start taking my husband for granted, that he will always be there, that he will always provide it, will always sleep in one bed forever. And praise God for that. We will, as long as, we are on this earth. But at the same time, time flies, and quite suddenly we will not be there for each other anymore. He'll die, or I'll die. So we need to communicate that we do not take them for granted. And that is done by our praise. So, by praising our husbands, we communicate that he would need anybody else to make him feel special. We are the ones who make them feel special. And our husbands, by our praise, they know that they're special to us, that we support and encourage them. My husband knows that I value him like none other. He is superb. He is above everybody else. He is number one after the Lord, obviously, in my life. And he knows that there is none like him in my life, even the most dear people to me. Sometimes it will require, my dear sister, to engage your willpower to encourage your husband. Maybe your relationship with your husband is not smooth as you would like it to be. So engage your willpower and encourage, and then your emotions will follow, slowly but surely. Your heart will start getting warmer and warmer towards your husband when you start encouraging him. You're acting in this positive, encouraging way because Christ gives you the power to do this. Only Christ can make you into the encourager. This is supernatural. Only Christ can supernaturally make you into the encourager, somebody who sees and believes the best, just like 1 Corinthians 13 tells us. Love believes all things. Love hopes all things. How can you praise your husband if you do not believe the best, hope the best? So, my dear sister, you and I, we need to ask the Lord to fill us to overflowing with that supernatural love that does believe the best and hopes the best, so we can encourage. And my dear sister, ask yourself a question. Pause and ask yourself a question. Do you make your husband feel like a man, that he's number one in your life, that he's the best provider possible, the best husband, the best lover, the best father? Do you affirm his masculinity by praise? And if by any chance the answer is no, you need to seriously rethink your encouragement level, so to say, and start actively pursuing this virtue of being an encourager. See you next week. God bless.